Hi, guys. So we will finally start reading The Outsiders by Essie Hinton. We've been preparing for it. Got a lot of research through our web quest. And here it is. So this is the cover. There's actually many different covers out there. This is the one we read from. And there's a little in the back here. We'll read that really quick. A heroic story of friendship and belonging. Ponyboy can count on his brothers and on his friends, but not on much else besides trouble with the Socias, a vicious gang of rich kids whose idea of a good time is beating up greasers like Ponyboy. At least he knows what to expect until the night someone takes things too far. Wow. Very interesting. So we know there's a character, Ponyboy. So also, actually, as we're going to be reading, we're going to be filling in our digital character tracker. If we were in the classroom, we would either be using a paper copy, maybe a digital, or another strategy we like to use when we were in the classroom is a character tracker, a paper copy, which we would do in our reading notebooks. But it's all the same idea, just a little bit changed up from the situation we're in. No matter what, there's a lot of characters in the story, so we need to keep track of them. Okay, so while I'm reading, I will be pausing to fill in our character tracker. Okay, fortunately, you won't be able to actually see it, but we'll also model it in the classroom. And also another thing I like to point out when we read the book is she dedicated the book for Jimmy. I don't want you to really see what I wrote there. But as we read the book, I want you to think about who that is, who she dedicated the book to. Chapter 1. When I stepped out into the bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house, I had only two things on my mind, Paul Newman and a ride home. I was wishing I looked like Paul Newman. He looks tough, and I don't. But I guess my looks aren't so bad. I have light brown, almost red hair, and greenish gray eyes. I wish they were more gray because I hate most guys that have green eyes. But I have to be content with what I have. My hair is longer than a lot of boys wear theirs, squared off in a black and back and long at the front and sides. But I'm a greaser, and most of my neighborhood rarely bothers to get a haircut. Besides, I look better with long hair. I had a long walk home and no company, but I usually loan it anyway. For no reason except that I like to watch movies undisturbed, so I get into them and live them with the actors. When I see a movie with someone, it's kind of uncomfortable, like having someone read your book over your shoulder. I'm different that way. I mean, my second oldest brother, Soda, who is 16 going on 17, never cracks at a book at all, and my oldest brother, Daryl, who we call Dari, works too long and hard to be interested in a story or drawing a picture. So I'm not like them. And nobody in our gang digs movies and books the way I do. For a while there, I thought I was the only person in the world that did. So I loaned it. All right, so we have the main narrator. He has a brother, Soda, and another brother, Daryl, who we call Dari. Okay, so we would add that into our tracker. Soda tries to understand at least, which is more than Dari does. But then Soda is different from anybody. He understands everything, almost. Like he's never hollering at me all the time the way Dari is, or treating me as if I was 6 instead of 14. I love Soda more than I've ever loved anyone, even mom and dad. He's always happy-go-lucky and grinning, while Dari's hard and firm and rarely grins at all. But then Dari's gone through a lot in his 20 years, growing up too fast. Soda Pop will never grow up at all. I don't know which way's the best. I'll find out one of these days. Anyway, I went out walking home, thinking about the movie, and then suddenly wishing I had some company. Greasers can't walk alone too much, or they'll get jumped, or someone will come by and scream "Greaser" at them, which doesn't make you feel too hot, if you know what I mean. We get jumped by the Socias. I'm not sure how you spell it. It's abbreviation for socials, the jet set, the West Side rich kids. It's like the term greaser, which is used to class as all boys on the East Side. So I definitely want to make a note here. I have a lot of notes in my book already because it's my book, so it's my stop and jot where I write things there. I would definitely want to note the Socias are the socialites. The Socias are the socials. They're the jet set, they're West Side rich kids, where the greasers are the kids who are on the East Side. So if the Socias are rich, then we know then the greasers are poor. All right, so two different groups of kids. Here they're going to talk about them. We're poorer than the Socias in the middle class. I reckon we're wilder, too. Not like the Socias who jump greasers and wreck houses and throw beer blasts for kicks and get editorials in the paper for being a public disgrace one day and an asset to society the next. Greasers are almost like hoods. We steal things and drive old souped-up cars and hold up gas stations and have a gang fight once in a while. I don't mean I do things like that. Dari would kill me if I got into trouble with the police. Since mom and dad were killed in an auto wreck, the three of us get to stay together only as long as we behave. So now another thing we should note here is the parents have passed away. So Dari, Soda, and we didn't get the narrator's name yet. Dimension on the back, but we're going to kind of focus on it when we get there. They lost their parents in an auto wreck. So Soda and I stay out of trouble as much as we can, and we're careful not to get caught when we can't. I mean, only that most greasers do things like that. Like we wear our hair long and dress in blue jeans and t-shirts, or leave our shirt tails out and wear leather jackets and tennis shoes or boots. I'm not saying that either socias or greasers are better. That's just the way things are. I could have waited to go to the movies until Dari or Soda Pop got off work. They would have gone with me or driven me there or walked along, although Soda just can't sit still long enough to enjoy a movie and they bore Dari to death. Dari thinks his life is enough without inspecting others. Or I could have gotten one of the gang to come along, or one of the 4 boys Dari and Soda and I have grown up with and consider family. We're almost as close as brother. When you grow up in a tight-knit neighborhood like ours, you get to know each other real well. If I had thought about it, I could have called Dari and he would have came by on his way home, picked me up, or Tuba Matthews, one of our gang, would have come to get me in his car if I had asked him. But sometimes I just don't use my head. It drives my brother Dari nuts when I do stuff like that because I'm supposed to be smart. I make good grades and I have a high IQ and everything, but I don't use my head. Besides, I like walking. So he's saying that he's not he doesn't use his head, so he's not like street smart. I about decided I didn't like it so much though when I spotted that red Corvair trailing me. It was almost 2 blocks from home then, so I started walking a little faster. I had never been jumped, but I had seen Johnny after 4 socias got a hold of him, and it wasn't pretty. Johnny was scared of his own shadow after that. Johnny was 16 then. I knew it wasn't any use, though, for that fast walking, I mean. Even before the Corvair pulled up beside me and the 5 socias got out, I got pretty scared because I'm kind of small for 14, even though I have a good build, and those guys were bigger than me. I automatically hitched my thumbs in my jeans and slouched, wondering if I'd get away if I made a break for it. I remembered Johnny, his face all cut up and bruised, and I remembered how he cried when we found him, half conscious in the corner lot. Johnny had it awful rough at home. It took a lot to make him cry. So again, we keep hearing about the socias beating up Johnny. So that's definitely something else we need to point out and make note of. I was sweating something fierce, although I was cold. I could feel my palms getting clammy and the perspiration running down my back. I get like that when I'm real scared. I glanced around for a pop bottle or a stick or something. Steve Randall, Soda's buddy, had once held up 4 guys with a busted pop bottle, but there was nothing. So I stood there like a bump on a log while they surrounded me. I don't use my head. They walked around slowly, silently smiling. Hey, Grease, one of them said in an over-friendly voice. We're going to do you a favor, Grease. We're going to cut all that long, greasy hair off. He had on a Madras shirt. I can still see a blue Madras. One of them laughed, then cussed me out in a low voice. I couldn't think of anything to say. There isn't a whole lot you can say while waiting to get mugged. So I kept my mouth shut. Need a haircut, Greaser? The medium-sized blonde pulled a knife out of his back pocket and flipped the blade open. I finally thought of something to say. No, I was backing up away from that knife. Of course I backed right into one of them. They had me down in a second. They had my arms and legs pinned down, and one of them was sitting on my chest with his knees on my elbows. And if you don't think that hurts, you're crazy. I could smell English leather shaving lotion and stale tobacco, and I wondered foolishly if I would suffocate before they did anything. I was scared so bad I was wishing I would. I fought to get loose and almost did for a second. Then they tightened up on me and one on my chest slugged me a couple of times. So I lay still, swearing at them between gasps. A blade was held against my throat. Had to like that haircut to begin just below the chin. It occurred to me then they could kill me. I went wild. I started screaming for Soda, Dari, anyone. Someone put his hand over my mouth, but I bit it as hard as I could, tasting the blood running through my teeth. I heard a mutter curse and got slugged again, and they were stuffing a handkerchief in my mouth. When I kept saying, shut him up, for Pete's sake, just shut him up. Then there were shouts and the pounding of feet, and the socias jumped up and left me lying there, gasping. I lay there and wondered what in the world was happening. People were jumping over me and running by me. I was too dazed to figure it out. Then someone had me under the armpits and was holding me to my feet. It was Dari. Are you all right, Pony Boy? So there, that's our narrator now, okay? So we have Pony Boy, Dari, Soda. They also talked about Johnny, Steve Randall, 2-Bit. All right, even you'll see all these characters on the chart. He was shaking me. I wish he'd stop. I was dizzy enough. I could tell it was Dari, though, partly because of the voice and partly because Dari's always rough with me without meaning to be. I'm okay. Quit shaking me, Dari. I'm okay. He stopped instantly. I'm sorry. He wasn't really. Dari isn't ever sorry for anything he does. It seems funny to me that he should look exactly like my father and act exactly the opposite from him. My father was only 40 when he died. He looked 25, and a lot of people thought Dari and Dad were brothers instead of father and son. But they only looked alike. My father was never rough with anyone without meaning to be. All right, so we're going to leave off there. We're going to fill in a little bit in our charts about some of the brothers and some of the notes about who the Socs and the Greasers are. All right, and then we'll finish up a little bit more next time we read.